Hey, welcome to the Business of Education show with me, your host, Mehmet Niazi. Now, in today's show, I have the honour of interviewing Adam Muckle, who is the president of the Tutors Association here in the UK. It's an association that has a reach of up to 20,000 tutors, so he's a great guest to have on the show, and he's someone that I'm sure you're going to learn a lot from. Some of the things we discuss, we delve a little bit into Adam's career progression, how he started off in the legal career, and how a chance conversation actually led to him becoming a tutor, and how he's risen up the ranks to become the president of the Tutors Association. We discuss how he started, what led to his business snowballing, a business which has seen him travel around the world and has led to him having students in many different continents online as well. So Great advice there for you. We also talk about what he'd do differently if he were to start again. He's got some great advice about pricing, his thoughts on super tutors. You don't want to miss that. Those that charge like upwards of £1,000 an hour, and what he makes of that industry. And yeah, all coming up in this video. As always, if you enjoy what you see, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. All means a lot. And don't forget to check out on businessmem.com. I've got a brand new members hub which is completely free of charge and shares a ton of marketing videos, step-by-step tutorials showing you how to promote yourself online, all of which is free to join and free to take part in. So free tutorials for you to check out. Enjoy the show and catch you next week. Hi everyone, welcome to the Business Mem Business of Education show, where we discuss business strategy with successful educators. I'm your host, Mehmet Niazi, and today I'm honoured to have on the show with me Adam Muckle, the president of the Tutors Association. Adam, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Mehmet. It's a pleasure.
For anyone not familiar with you and the Tutors Association, can you tell us a little bit more about you?
Yes, so I'm originally from Belfast. I was schooled there. I went to Durham University, studied classics, and then I pursued a legal career, qualified as a barrister, and then a legal friend, before I found a place in a chambers, a legal friend told me about tutoring, and then I pursued that alongside looking for a pupillage in the chambers, and then the tutoring side of things took off, and I found that very rewarding. I loved it, and here I am, president of the Tutors Association, which was founded in 2013. We, as an organisation, as a professional body, seek to professionally recognise tutors, to provide resources and services for them and events, to also reassure the public about what we do as tutors, about the sector, the whole supplementary education sector, and also to provide a sort of representative, responsible voice in doing so.
Fantastic. And so that was quite a career change from law to tutoring. How did that come about?
Well, first of all, becoming a barrister is very competitive. And people have going for it, have similar things in their CV, and it's constantly building up a portfolio of things to show to chambers. And it's I say it's a very competitive field, and it's considered, I think, amongst peers an achievement to get your foot in the door for an interview. And so there's only so much one can hammer away at a brick wall, from my perspective. And tutoring was a bit of salvation for me. When I had a chance conversation I just finished my master's in maritime law, because that was sort of the area that I was looking to go into. And she told me I'd done a Latin and Greek summer school years before with her, and she told me that she, in terms of making a bit of pocket money before while she was at Oxford, and what I could do whilst looking for work, my first job, was to do a bit of tutoring, and she gave me a bit of advice on that, and I put an So that was Christmas 2008. I put an advert in the newspaper, local newspaper, offering my services, and she told me about a few websites that I could go to put my profile up, and that's what I did, and sort of waited for a response.
So it's very much a waiting game. Put it up and hope that someone sees the advert.
Yeah, and it just so happened then that I got a place doing research work in insurance law for a barrister for 6 months. But the week I began, I got my very first student.
Oh, wow.
So I tutored at the weekends whilst I was doing the work in London.
And so at what stage did you decide to make the leap from full-time working as a barrister to
Yeah,
working as a
so
tutor?
in 2009, it was just a couple of students. And then when that legal position stopped, I was sort of twiddling my thumbs really, and but I had this few tutees, and I did a bit of writing, and then I thought about I applied to do a legal justice mission in East Africa and in Rwanda, Kenya, and and it was mainly Rwanda and Kenya, and and Uganda.
Right.
And all the money that I earned from tuition went towards that project,
All right.
getting me there and supporting myself and funding the project. And then it sort of snowballed slowly. The tutoring work slowly snowballed when I got back in 2011. Oh, sorry, in late July 2010.
Right.
And yeah, then it slowly snowballed over the end of 2010, 2011. And then I was doing another legal project called Big Voice London, which is supported by the Supreme Court, helps children in their sixth form from inner city state schools to consider a career in law and give them opportunities. It was through that project that another legal friend told me about a tuition agency.
Okay.
And they gave me, so I signed up with them, and they gave me a lot of students in quite a short space of time, because I built up slowly a portfolio, of experience.
Right.
Referrals, references.
Right.
For parents, and then they gave me. I got 30 students that year.
Wow.
But it sort of all culminated in that summer when one of their executives called me up to ask me whether I'd like to tutor in Shanghai for the summer.
Nice.
Because this was a role where a boy was, he'd be prepared for his Eton scholarship for Greek and Latin, especially. He needed some bit more work on. And then his brother, who was older than him, wanted to have like an introduction to law. He was about 15 and thinking about, well, what can I do after, as a degree maybe. When you're 15, you start thinking about those sorts of things. And so this seemed to be, the stars aligned in terms of that role. It seemed to be made for me, and I knew at that point that tutoring really was the thing for me. I mean, that summer 2012 was my last pupillage interview, so that really tells you
Right.
that as sort of that I'd gone the tutoring route, and I wanted to make something of it. And I remember when I started tutoring and taking it, even from 2010, really, I knew that there was something to it. I found it so rewarding, getting my first student and getting him from a D in his mock to an A star within 3 months.
Wow.
I knew that there was something to it, but I didn't quite know what. But I was absolutely determined that I was going to make a success of it.
And where do you think that motivation comes from? What's driven you to have that level of commitment to your students
Yeah, so I would say, so I'm now, I mean, and I sort of specialize in tutoring 10 to 13-year-olds, because when I was growing up, I failed my 11 plus,
Right.
and yet I was determined. That gave me a lot of determination to succeed. There were mild special educational needs surrounding that, and my parents, mounted an appeal to get me into the school, the upper school, where then I just flourished. So I took the opportunities that was then given to me because of that failure, and turned it into a positive, turned it into a success. And I found certain subjects and activities, that were more to to find the talents that were good for me. So my first experience of private tutoring really was through my classics master, who recommended that I do Greek, take up Greek, because the school didn't provide Greek at that time, and I did Greek 4 times a week before school started, and I really enjoyed that, and I did very well in it. And then I also found a sport in fencing.
Right.
And I was committed. I committed to fencing for 10 years. So that's where the level of commitment comes in, I guess, and determination.
Interesting.
Because I was used to committing to things, and I make a go of things. And
That's just your nature, is it? That's how you are.
And I'm sort of used to setbacks.
Right.
So, and how to deal with them.
Because that's interesting that you mentioned that word setbacks, because many tutors who are just starting out, as you would have experienced, find it hard to snowball their business. And you mentioned it took a number of years before, and joining an agency before you started to see any real progression.
Yeah.
If you were starting out again, what advice would you give for someone looking to immediately kickstart and get that bit of traction?
Yeah. So one thing that I learned from law, mainly because where I lived outside London, whereas most of the action in law is in London. And from my personal, I decided to move to London in 2011 to really move things forward with tutoring. But in terms of location, it doesn't really matter. The important thing is, which I didn't do in law, was to meet people.
Right.
And I understand, and for tutoring, there isn't the same, not like in law, there's the Inns of Court or the Law Society or the Bar Council that can help. That's when I was starting, that I understood that tutoring can be quite a solitary existence, and there are no colleagues, there is no staff room to rely on for help and advice. But it was through those 2 chance conversations with my 2 legal friends that things took off for me. But now with from 2013, things suddenly started going up a level in 2012. But in 2013, when the Tutors Association was founded, well, now that the tutors don't necessarily have that issue, because the Tutors Association, regardless of whether I'm president or not, there's a professional body there who can help and support you in that journey and maybe point you in the right direction, and how giving a lot of business advice and professional services like legal support, accountancy advice, tax advice, academic resources at discount prices. It's great, and hundreds of tutors and tuition companies are there as a network.
It's a great support network where you can turn to for just about any need.
And the past year, it's been getting it off the ground, the foundation phase. Now we're in development mode, where we're building a number. We've had a number of events in the past year, culminating in this big conference where over 100 tutors and companies representatives came along to it.
Wow.
And that was the first one of its kind, professionally supporting tutors. And not any sort of commercial edge to them to it at all. It was solely about professionally supporting them and the networking opportunities that were created by that.
How have you managed to grow the association? Because I know that that's it's easy to set up, but how do you go about attracting the members?
But
And
then, because the industry heads of different companies and tutors, we all live we all have our separate bubbles of what we're doing.
sure,
So it does require a lot of making connections, phone calls, talking, emailing, getting people together who wouldn't necessarily have got together. A lot of foresight
right,
in driving it forward. Our chief executive has a lot of background in professional bodies and building and growing these. There was a lot of research done at the start to see whether there was any hunger from tutors as to whether they'd want a professional body, and there was.
right,
And also, I think in terms, it's Janus, it's two-headed, because there's also the public interest in what tutoring is, and someone looking for, they want to know that the person coming into their home, is properly vetted and has got the right academics, and there's got the references that that they have tutored before. I mean, it's very, very there's no regulation in the market at all, really. The parents have to be on their they have to do their own homework on it.
absolutely.
But now they have a body that they can turn to, whether the tutor that they've chosen is a member or not. They can find out about tutoring, and even then they can recommend the Tutors Association to their tutor. There's no compulsion about joining. I mean, other industry, we would like all tutors to join it, but there's no. And I mean, other professions have such a body where they can use the services.
And how many members do you currently represent, Adam?
We have over 500 members. Most the large majority of them are tutors. I think 3-to-1
Right.
Is the ratio. Over 150 tuition companies who we estimate have around 20,000 tutors that they're using.
Right.
It's very difficult to gauge how many people are tutoring, but we reckon it is over 100,000 at least.
Right. So if
So
there's
it is equitable, and also teachers are tutoring as well. So that they're already members of a professional body, so they don't necessarily want to join the Tutors Association. They've so, but in terms of tutoring itself and full time, what we want to promote is tutoring as a sort of full time career opportunity. Raise the profile of it as a profession in itself, and the skills are very different.
absolutely.
This association is the only professional body for tutors in the UK, and so we'd really recommend the tutors get behind it.
It's a very, very
Because we're here for them.
absolutely. It's a great cause, and it's a great association which is very professionally run. I know that you have a lot of events throughout the year, so anyone needing that support network, or even just learning certain skills such as marketing or accounting, should certainly check out your website.
There are events are very broad in nature. So we had one recently on neuroscience. We've had ones on special educational needs. We've had ones on child psychology, growth mindset, and grit. And we've had one last year in business growth, which we're going to be having again. And very similar sort of events, but on a larger scale and more diversity at the conference in October.
So, Adam, let me ask you: given that your reach potentially extends to up to 20,000 people, what would you advise a new tutor
to do regarding their pricing? Because I know that's quite a contentious issue. A lot of people have issues setting their appropriate rates.
Yep.
What would your advice be to such a person?
Well, I would say start low,
Right.
see what happens. But you've got to assess what and then what you can give to a student in terms of your credentials and your expertise already. So if you're starting, then you're going to be building an expertise because you're building up your experience. And I mean, for instance, I started price at £25 on this website. Now you look at what other people. You can look as a customer on these websites as to what other tutors are charging.
Sure.
So you
spy on your competition.
You moderate your price accordingly. Then you could look at what the companies are charging, mm-hmm. and set the price accordingly. You look at what there are a variety of different tutoring companies who have different pricing models, so you have to be wary of that as well. And then, steadily, as I got more students, I would put it every few months if I felt comfortable. I'd put it up £5.
Every few months.
Every 6 months or so.
Okay.
Now I would say, and then every year, depending on how much experience you've got.
So to recap, it would be.
I think that there are a lot of tuition news stories where you hear stories of tutors being paid £1,000 an hour. That is extraordinary.
Yeah.
If they charge that much, and I'm not convinced of the truth of that.
Sure.
That might be what the company is getting it, but the tutor would get a commission of that.
Right.
And that's how tutors going through companies would be paid, the commission.
Right.
Or the company takes a bit of commission. Either way. So that's what you've got to factor in to your pricing model.
Right, sure. So don't believe all the hype. Don't believe the headlines. It's not an industry where you can readily charge £1,000 an hour.
If you want, a tutor can charge whatever he wants.
Of course.
But see if there's a market for it. Yeah. But that is not. I don't think that's responsible.
Okay. And with regards to tutoring online and winning students potentially abroad, do you have any experience with that? You mentioned Shanghai.
Yeah, I've been to Shanghai, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Vienna, Venice, France, Channel Islands, and I've also tutored online. I've got students in Singapore and India at the moment. It's quite extraordinary, the reach. The residential placements have been through tuition companies. I haven't yet found a way to, have these sort of lucrative places, placements abroad of my own bat. And I'm very grateful for them when they, it's not really nice to go away for a few weeks. There are tutors who do residential placements for 6 months to a year.
Yep.
You've got to work out your own commitments at home, whether you'd want to do that or not. It's a different lifestyle choice there. And then the online thing is far more accessible to tutor online than it is to get these placements abroad. And but the placements abroad is a lot to do with the value that some families put on private education, private British education of these schools. And my school in Belfast was listed as one of these public independent schools, even though Belfast the Northern Irish education system is different. My school is a voluntary grammar school. But these families want someone who's been there and got the T-shirt to an extent, and to be a mentor for their child, and to know what the process is of doing an entrance exam.
Sure. So
Not necessarily that particular entrance exam, but they have some idea of what the type of qualities that the school is looking for.
So my takeaway from that, and remember, we do have an international audience, so not everyone will be have that advantage, for example. But I take away from that is find your unique selling point, or something that gives you a point of differentiation or an advantage over others in your industry, and really maximize and play that up in order to be able to win students who see that as being desirable.
Part of your branding is part of your differentiation, and also to share your story with the parents, and then, if appropriate, with the child. So these 10 to 12-year-olds doing these pre-tests and scholarships. I do share my story, and it is one of grit and determination.
And how do you share that story, Adam? Is that done through a video? Is that done through a sales page? I mean, what do you do?
Talk to them. Talk to them. Tutoring is not just about the subjects that you're tutoring. It is about, there are moments where you have a conversation, and a motivational pep talk. In terms of the level of work, the level of their input. How much can they give to their own study, and you are providing them with study skills and organizational skills, because we as tutors want to foster independent learning. We want them to get on with it as quickly as possible for themselves.
Sure.
We don't want them to be burdened by having someone do everything for them.
Yep. And
the parents don't want that either.
No, of course. So your job is really to impart that that independence to be able to do for themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's very empowering, I think. These negative stories, which tutors would agree with, about cramming and hot housing, that is not what I'm interested in.
Sure. And so I think that's a great end to the interview. I think that's a great way to wrap up the show. Just before we say goodbye, is there any resources or links that you'd like the viewers of this show to go to contact you, perhaps?
Yeah, so obviously the Tutors Association.org.uk, and you would get a lot of information there. We're also on our affiliate members page. There's a lot of resources that tutors can access, and various relationships that we've developed over the years, such as with the tutor pages, with schoolsguide.uk.co.uk, where tutors who are members of the association can get free listings on that website. And we've got and we've got links with the tutor pages as well, which is a great, as I saw the interview, it's great online community for tutors. But in terms of the association provides that sort of real life contact, not just about online, it's real life as well. And then we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn. We've got a LinkedIn company page, and I'm active on those as well.
Great. So what I'll do is, in the show notes, I'll link to all of the resources that you stated. I'll provide your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your Twitter, and your site as well. And hopefully, I urge everyone watching this, especially if you're in the UK, I think it's only for UK tutors, but if you are in the UK, definitely check out the site, and hopefully I'll see you at one of the events that you guys are hosting.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Mehmet.
Excellent. Take care. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.